Today we're talking with Nicole Weprin. She is a wildlife biologist on the California Condor Recovery with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Wildlife biologists are primarily responsible for studying the behavior, biology, and habitats of a variety of animal populations in the wild. Some of the places that you might see wildlife biologists work are for state and federal government, for higher education, for the private sector in places such as zoos, community centers, environmental research facilities, and consulting firms. And wildlife biologists can play an important role in managing and monitoring population dynamics to preserve certain species and their environments, much like Nicole working with the California Condors. So hello, Nicole. Can you tell us what inspired you to get involved in wildlife biology?
Hi, Helen. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to chat with you for a little bit. And I really kind of got inspired to work in this field when I was younger. I had I lived in Colorado, and my parents were really into the outdoors, so they made sure that both my sister and I spent a lot of time hiking and camping and just, getting out there as much as possible. And so I kind of knew that I really enjoyed doing that. And then the other thing is we always had pets. Like I always had dogs, fish, hamsters, and the only kinds of shows I wanted to watch as a kid were nature on PBS or shows like that. And I just really kind of loved animals as well as being outside. And so I wanted to kind of go through the whole process. I wanted to make sure that I got to incorporate both of those in my job, when I grew up. And
Nice.
so I looked into being a vet or being a zoologist and working at zoos. And then, when I was in high school, I learned that there is this job called wildlife biology, and that it was going to really be that intersection of animals, especially wild animals, and actually getting to work outside and spend time in the outdoors. So I knew that was the right direction for me to go.
Nice. Can you tell us a favorite memory of your experience working as a wildlife biologist?
Yeah, oh man, I have so many. But one of the things that I'm really grateful for that I think was a really cool opportunity for me is that through this career, I was actually able to work abroad, and I worked for a year in South Africa, helping a project study a bird known as the southern ground hornbill. And that entirely was just a really cool experience, to live in a different country and to see how biology and kind of those types of studies work in a different country as opposed to, here in the United States. And then one time in particular that just has always really been a special moment for me. I was up super early doing a nest observation of this newly discovered hornbill nest, and I had to sit in a car and be really quiet and be really unobtrusive, make sure that they didn't know I was there, and watch them and really kind of count how many birds were in the area. They're a big group, collaborative and group species, so they help raise a chick kind of all together. And so I was, recording which birds were coming and going and how often they were doing that, and really hoping for a moment to maybe see the chick. We didn't know if the egg had hatched yet. Unfortunately, we didn't see the chick that day, but I got to watch as, the sun was coming up kind of over this, very stereotypical African plain with the acacia trees. And I wrapped up my observation and was like, oh, that was a pretty cool, cool couple of hours. And I turned around to get some of the stuff out of my truck so I could get ready to drive back to my office. And right behind me, maybe 50 feet, were two male cheetahs. And they were just like laying down. They were a brother, two brothers. And yeah, just all of a sudden it hit me like, oh, I'm in Africa. These are wild cheetahs. I'm not seeing something in a zoo. And, they weren't bothered by me. And I made sure to stay really still. And the two of them, they just got up and just very slowly kind of walked down, and they were sniffing things and, rubbing their heads up against each other. And they just kind of walked off just directly actually into the sun as it was coming up. And it was just one of those, like, this is this is a really incredible moment. I'm going to remember this for a very long time.
That sounds amazing. That sounds really just, yeah, awe-inspiring.
Yeah, I still get a little bit emotional every time. Like, it's a story that never gets old, for sure.
Wonderful, wonderful. So what was the most challenging part of becoming a wildlife biologist, getting where you are, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, so I think a really important part of being a wildlife biologist, in addition to going to school and getting a degree and doing well in the fields of, math and science that, you would kind of expect for a job like this, there's a lot that you can't really learn until you do it. And, we call that field experience. And, a lot of times you learn something in a classroom setting, but you may not know what you're going to encounter because, the field, the outdoors, anything can happen. You can have, a storm come in and ruin your survey for that day, or, some of your animals just don't show up. They don't always cooperate. We're not really, they're not a trained animal, they're wild animals.
How dare they?
I know. The nerve, but so I found that you really have to get kind of a lot of experience, and the more diversity of experience that you can get, kind of the better overall biologist you're going to be. And what that means is that you have to move a lot. And so a typical career path that you find in people in my line of work is to do what's called seasonal work. And so you might often work for maybe 6 months out of the year, typically the summer months here, just because that's when the animals that we're studying tend to be the most active, or are at least doing predictable things like breeding or spending time in a certain area. So we know, kind of have a baseline of where to start. So, the seasonal life, it can be a little difficult. And it certainly, I had almost 10 years of seasonal work, kind of constantly hustling and constantly having to find the next job and trying to really think, what is the next project that is interesting to me and that is going to help build my resume and give me the experience I need so that I can be this well-rounded biologist. And, so it was hard because you're moving a lot. You don't really have the ability always to, have like roots in an area. And, I think to overcome that is you just embrace that this is a really unique lifestyle. And of course, there's many other routes that you could take to become a biologist. This is just the direction that I went. But yeah, just embrace kind of that sense of adventure of I lived and worked in Africa. I have lived and worked in almost every state in the Western United States, and all of the different kind of landscapes and ecosystems, and with a variety of different animals. And, it was hard, but I also met some of the most amazing people who are still some of my dearest friends, even if we're not, right next to each other or living in the same town. And yeah, I think just really getting to acknowledge this is maybe kind of a different lifestyle to what a lot of people are used to seeing. I'm not going to an office, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And you kind of just learn to be flexible and learn how to really embrace it and work within it. And I think it's a really cool experience and a really cool way to live.
Wonderful. Thank you. So how do you hope that the work that you do can help California condors or support the recovery program?
Yeah, so that's actually a perfect segue from my last answer, but I think, having that breadth of experience and having really the opportunity to work with every federal agency, a number of nonprofits and, universities and even some private research programs has really, contributed to, like I said, me being a very well-rounded biologist. And I think I can bring that to the program and combine that expertise with my amazing team. All of those people also have their own backgrounds, their own experience. And so we can kind of bring all of that together to collaborate and, make the best hands-on decisions for, our management activities with the California Condor. And my role in particular, I'm currently at home, but I spend a lot of time out in the field, actually, kind of on the ground working with the day-to-day operations of the condor management. And so I'm able to take what I see out in the field and apply kind of all of my experience and knowledge about birds and how they interact with the landscape, and really use that to help, bring that back to my team and really help so that we can make this really, make all the best decisions for the population in general.
Excellent. Excellent. And very well-rounded. What is your greatest non-work related skill or accomplishment?
Ooh.
Or the one that you'd most like to share with us?
Yeah. So, I feel like I've spoken a lot to kind of getting to know the animal or getting to know the resources. And I think another really crucial thing that was maybe a byproduct of work, so I don't know if it's a work-related skill, but because I've had to move so much and because I've worked on so many different programs and projects, I have really developed those interpersonal skills. And, some people might think it's ironic, but working with wildlife, it's really important that you can, contribute to a community and work well with other people. And I feel like I've honed that skill kind of because of that kind of moving around a lot and really kind of exposing myself to people from all kinds of different backgrounds and who are all coming to a particular project or public land or, part of nature with their own reasons for being there. And I think really kind of embracing that and acknowledging that we might have different opinions or we might look at the world a little bit differently, but we're all, here in this moment working together for whatever reason, kind of for, the love of the resource, however that happens to be presented. And so I think, really focusing on just being open and having strong communication skills is just, key for this job, but also just key for life. So probably that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you so much for having me. And, I hope to see everybody out there someday, checking out the condors and getting to experience our public lands.
Thank you. Thank you.